Every morning that age, you can hear me tapping that thing.
And welcome to an expanded edition of the Underground Record Shop here on RedBud Radio. A very special Underground Record Shop as we have in the studio, live in the studios here, none other than Mr. Pat Webb, Mr. Alan Stratyner, Mr. Christopher Webb. It's Webb, Stratyner, Webb. Live in the studio. How you doing, guys?
All right.
Fine. Wonderful, Rich. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks again for coming and being with us here on the air live. It really means a lot to us. All three of you guys stand on your own as local well-to-dos and well-knowns, if not / legends. A lot of people use the word legend. It's a broadly defined word. I think I could put all three of you guys into that category. Wow. We are happy to have Pat Webb here in the studio, a gentleman that's been around for a long, long time, a young man still.
In a sense, yes. Young at heart, if not body. A legend, that's somebody that they talk about a lot that doesn't have any money. That's what it means.
Yeah.
Well, we can't verify whether he has any money or not. So
I
that's
But I have stuck to my guns all this time. I've played what I wanted and mostly where I wanted, and I've done some other kinds of work too.
Well, when I say quite a while now, I don't want to go back too far, but I'm guessing we were talking earlier that Mr. Herbert Hoover was president the year that Pat Webb was born. So that's a little bit of a ways back.
That goes back a long ways. That's one of the only bad marks on my life.
Yeah. Well, you weren't born in a Hooverville, but I understand you were
Thankfully,
born. Thankfully, but
on a farm. Well, in the city of Springfield, Missouri, right next to Southwest Missouri State College, within rock throwing distance of that college on a place called Lawrence Street.
So back in the early 1930s, that was
32. The doctor, I remember what time it was, between 6 and 7, because the doctor.
You remember what time it was in particular?
Well, yes, after him.
I always heard you had a good memory.
Yeah, pretty good memory. The doctor had to go to the Jackson Day event that night. It was held that day, and I'm not a big fan of President Jackson, but Elvis was also born on that day.
Oh, really?
3 years later. I was born in 32, he in 35.
Yeah.
And I'm more successful than he is at this point.
By many definitions, you are absolutely more successful.
Still composing.
Still composing to this day.
Yeah.
And still performing.
Still at it.
Right.
Yes,
yeah, Elvis retired from performing a few years ago.
Really?
1977, I think it is, yeah. So,
Christopher and I played last night at the Muddy Boots Cafe in Brown County,
Muddy
Nashville.
Boots Cafe down there.
Wonderful place, organic food, so-called alternative music, which is getting back now to where a lot of people want to hear it.
Well, you've had a long career as well. Speaking of performing, you've been performing now, for a number of years. Again, it's hard to say because you're still a young man. I don't want to.
In a sense, yes.
In a sense, so but since the 1950s, you've been a performer, and we'll thank you right now for your service in Korea, in the amount of time that you spent in the U.S. military securing our freedom. I want to thank you very much for your service. Well, in that case,
that was a so-called good war in the sense that they were coming in from the north trying to just kill everybody in sight, and we helped put a stop to that. What do you call one of those, son, where they're trying to kill everyone?
An absolute genocide? Yes.
Genocide.
I think you stopped that.
That's it. And we helped put a stop to it.
Well, again, thank you very much for your service. I do appreciate that.
Thank you. I'm not in love with war, though. I'll
no,
tell
certainly
you that
not.
right now.
But let's make no mistake about it that people that provide a service secure our freedom, and I believe that to be the case.
It's necessary.
But at some point or another, after the service, you began a career as a performer, a singer, a guitarist. And about what time would you pinpoint that?
Well, I was still in the service, and we played in this little joint off of the base, Camp Lejeune, Lejeune, they call it, North Carolina. And that was in 51, after I got back from Korea. I got back from Korea, and I hit the base on the 4th of July, 51. 4th of July, a very important date in my life.
Appears to be, yeah.
Several times. That's how I ran into Chris's mother because of the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Another story.
Another story.
But I had a band, 3 of us. And we had a guy named Tex Tracy on steel. He was from New York. And another guy named Bill something that had played on the record, had it called Boogie, about this patent medicine. And the 3 of us played in this little place off of the bass, quite often. And that was my real professional start in '51.
Had a call boogie, which I suppose some of us could probably use some had a call right about now, I would imagine.
I wouldn't mind.
Wouldn't mind it a bit.
Alcohol and iron is what it was.
Well, you had the music in you at that point. There was already a style or certain type of music that you desired to play. And could you tell us about how you became influenced?
Well, my family, we were there with the mother's parents on this farm. The father was gone by the time I was 4. And they had a folk music gathering of all kinds. And they had a poetry gathering. And my grandmother was what you would call a culture freak. She had all kinds of people. She didn't bar anybody. Back in the time when it wasn't very popular not to be too selective like she was. Anybody was welcome if they were in the arts or interested in the arts. And we'd have nights like that. But then the main thing was when I got down to this place where all these African Americans worked, and they had their little businesses in this one place right by my Uncle Jay's house, within about 2 rock throws from his house. Not that I would do that, but he took me over there when I was 8 years old for an orange soda to a place called Graham's Rib Station, and it had the best barbecue.
Graham's Rib Station.
Yes, the best barbecue, and not just because it was the first, it was the best. And then down a couple of businesses was Dempsey Pike's shoe shop. Dempsey played a guitar, 1935 Gibson, just like my son has.
Is this in Springfield, Pat?
Springfield, Missouri. And Dempsey and several of us were in his shop one night. I was about 13, 14 or something, and I was messing around with the guitar. I played mandolin, and also ukulele. But I was messing around with the guitar of Dempsey's, and Dempsey played a gospel quartet. So this man, African-American man, said, "Let me show you how to do that." And I handed him the guitar, and he played the first live blues I ever heard. And I'd heard it on record, of course, at Graham's and other places. But this, man, it got all over me, just like the square dance music had at home. So both kinds, like blues and bluegrass, have followed me my whole life.
Filled you right up and became a big part of your life.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, again, we're talking here with Pat Webb, and we also have Christopher Webb and Alan Stratyner in the studio. And, these guys are nice enough to bring their guitars in, and Alan's going to play his harmonica. And what you mentioned that was a 1939 Gibson that you had, Chris?
It's a 1935 LOO, and inherited it from my mother. So.
Well, very nice. All right. Well, we'll talk about that.
That's
here.
really nothing, though, because I have a 2009 Marine Band harmonica.
Yeah.
All right.
Sometimes the newer the better.
Sometimes.
Well, these guys are so nice. They're going to do several songs for us here live in the studio, and we're going to kick off this live performance part with what Pat's calling earliest blues, which is basically is this the song that Mr. Dewey was doing?
This is very much like the song that I first heard in there that the gentleman played in the shoe shop that night.
All right, we'll call this one Earliest Blues, and it's Pat Webb, Alan Stratyner, and Christopher Webb right here on the Underground Record Shop.
gotta shine, shine in my back door someday. I'm all alone at midnight, and my lamp is burning low. I've never had so much trouble in my life before. I got trouble on my worried mind. When you see me laughing, I'm laughing just to keep from crying. That 219 train come along and pacify my mind. You've been a hard-hearted daddy, and you should treat me unkind. I'm gonna be a hard-hearted mama, and I swear I'll make you lose your mind. Trouble in mind, I'm blue, but I won't be blue always. That old sun's gotta shine, shine in my back door someday.
Trouble in Mind right here on the Underground Record Shop with Charlotte Daniels and Pat Webb off of the 1960 Prestige LP, Charlotte Daniels and Pat Webb. And we have in the studio with us, it's Pat Webb and Alan Stratyner and Charlotte Daniels' son, Christopher Webb. How you doing over, Chris?
Doing wonderfully.
Good. Having a good
Great
time?
to hear that song after all this time again.
Yeah, it is, and it's a great LP. Again, came out in 1960, and we're talking with Pat and Alan, and we'll be speaking with Chris here in a little bit, live on the air. And again, a wonderful album that you guys did. Now, you were telling me, Pat, that you guys recorded that all in one day. Is that correct? Or?
Right. We rehearsed the day before with Tim Robbins' father is a bass player on that, Gil Robbins.
Oh, Tim Robbins, the actor.
Yeah.
His father, Gil, was the bass player.
He was a bass player on it, and we rehearsed in this cheap hotel. He had to lug it up 2 flights of stairs. And then the next day we went over New Jersey to that studio and recorded the whole thing in one long afternoon.
You recorded it in the Prestige Studios.
Right.
All in one day. So
in New Jersey.
So you folks were, no pun intended, were kind of on the folk scene at the time.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And,
I'd been, into so-called folk music. It all kind of runs together. It's hard to say what is folk and what is not. But at that time, there was sort of a way of looking at it, a commercial way that if you played a guitar and you wore, maybe if you're a woman, a long skirt or older clothes, or if you're a young man, you had what do you call it, suit? I used to call them, Christopher would remember this, a
nonconformist suit.
A nonconformist suit.
So it was also a manner of dress.
Yeah, they all looked alike, but they were nonconformist.
Right, but the folk he had a way of looking as well as a way of acting and
That's
a way of
right.
sounding.
It's what the great psychiatrist Eric Byrne called a schizophrenic suit. You'd have tennis shoes and a bow tie, you know.
That's non-conformist, yeah. At least in 1960 or in that, in that
I
time
would say
frame.
so. But we survived that. That was virtuosity also was a thing that could be included with needing more freedom, you know, having more freedom for virtuosity, not just politics.
Right.
And
But the virtuosity, you know, you were allowed this freedom as an artist, you know, based on certain freedoms that we had in the country and in the United States.
to a certain extent.
And that's what you were speaking for.
quite true, yeah. Absolutely.
And then you spent some time, I know, around Greenwich Village and
Oh,
around
yes.
Los Angeles, and
Yeah.
you know, some of the folks that you know might be associated with the early Greenwich Village scene. You
All
were,
around the country. John Sebastian, I put him on stage his first time.
yeah, you put John Sebastian on stage,
That's right. Yeah, he was a teenager.
and there's a little story about John Sebastian putting someone else on stage,
And
and I think that's Bob Dylan. Then
That might have
So
been.
that's the way that
Might
story
have been.
goes, so
I can't remember the whole
I don't know. I wasn't
sequence, but
I wasn't there, but you certainly were at that time
yeah,
frame.
I was.
So, you know.
I was 28 years old in 1960. I'd been around. I'd played Western swing and blues. I'd played in several black bands.
You were more mature than a lot of the other folks that were hanging
well,
around
I
Greenwich
should
Village.
have been
Well,
anyway.
not from
Yeah.
looking at this picture here on the front of this cover.
Yeah, I
though.
looked
I mean,
very young there. It's some kind of a freakish light or something. that
quite a
did-
handsome man there on the front of that
At
album
one
cover.
time, I didn't look too bad. I couldn't prove it now. I don't even bother to tell them I used to be good looking.
Used to be good.
You know,
That
why,
sounds like a line of a
why
song.
stick your neck
Well,
out?
back in those days, a lot, as you were just saying, a lot of the music was very, was very similar, but you had to play a lot of different types of styles, and you got to know a lot of the blues players. I understand that you knew Lightning Hopkins.
I did know Lightning. Lightning and me were tight. We had a good time together, and he took me to meet the last wife of Leadbelly, Martha. And we had greens, collards and neck meat and beer. And we played and sang, and Martha was a good woman. It was really quite an experience.
Yeah.
And then we went to Washington Park, I believe it's called, in the village, and listened to a lot of music. And then we went to a place called the Kettle of Fish and drank some more beer
The Kettle of Fish.
in those days.
And you're also again friends with Blind Tommy Hunt as well. Is that
Blind Tommy Hunt was a piano player,
Yeah.
and I was his lead boy for a while, and that was a long time ago.
But a lot of the blues players and the folk musicians sort of intermingled, and it was all kind of considered folk music. Now, you at one point or another had met one of the favorite sons around here, Yank Rochelle, that you
Absolutely.
became friends with. A lot of people call him, some people call him Yank Rachel. You became friends with him at some point during the 1960s, is that correct? Or-
Right, I was booked through here from L.A. to New York, and I did a show at a place at about 28th and Meridian or something like that, called or Golden something or another, and a man came in, and he came in with an older African-American man, and his name was Scott Ballantyne, this young man, fine guitar player,
This
just
was-
still around, still playing.
Say mid-1960s.
Yeah, and I had a mandolin. See, I played the mandolin too in those days, and this older African American man said, "I play the mandolin." I said, "Well, let's go back in the dressing room." This place had dressing rooms, obviously, so we went back there and played, and I realized who he was. I said, "That's Yank Rochelle, the famous bluesman." When he said it to me the first time, there was a lot of noise in the place, and I didn't get it. And I said, "How about doing the next set with me?" And he did, and we wrecked the place. It was beautiful, and to hear him play and sing. Better singer than he was a player, actually. A lot of people don't pay much attention to that, but he had a great voice.
Yeah, he was all around,
Like a trumpet.
all around dynamo. no
Fine
doubt.
mandolin player, too.
And played guitar and harmonica.
He
as
could,
well,
yeah,
well. So this
sure
began
could.
a relationship with Yank that lasted more than 30 years. Then
Yeah,
that
we
you-
played off and on. We'd go our separate ways. Sometimes he'd have a whole band, sometimes it would just be he and I.
And you ended up recording with Yank in the late 1990s. Then you
Right, Alan Stratyner was on that, and
Too Hot for the Devil.
yeah, that's the line from one song.
That's the name of the CD.
Yeah.
And Christopher Webb also on that CD as well.
I did some utilitarian things on that, yeah. Just proud to be a part of it.
Well, why we got
That's
you?
right.
Why we got you guys here? All strapped up and got your guitars and in your 2009 Marine band already. And man, Alan Stratyner plays so hot. You know that.
Thank you. That's
that
awfully
Marine
kind.
band's working, buddy. I'll tell you
And
what.
let me tell your audience that Rich Hynes plays so hot too. He's a wonderful harmonica player.
Oh well, thanks.
amongst other things.
Thank you for saying so. But right now we want to hear these guys, and they. I guess you're going to do what you say Yank's favorite song of yours was, which would be "Summertime." Alan, who wrote that song again? Was that?
That was, I believe, George Gershwin.
George Gershwin, right?
Part of Porky and Bess.
Okay,
Bess.
right.
Yeah.
So you guys are going to do the great George Gershwin song, a favorite of Yank Rachel's, "Summertime," right here on the Underground Record Shop on RedBud Radio.
Living is easy. Fish are jumping and cotton is high. Your daddy's rich and your mama's good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. You're gonna rise up singing. You will spread your wings and take to the sky. Till in morning, there's nothing can harm you. With your mama and daddy standing by. rabbits are jumping and cotton is high. Your daddy's rich and your mama's good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry.
Why you want to borrow my flower when you got the same flower I got? If you wore your flower and tend to it, your flower will be just as fine as mine.
That makes sense to me.
I wore my flower more than every even before the sun go down.
Oh.
Well, if you wore your flower like I do mine, your flower will be just as fine as mine, right?
That makes sense to me.
But you know, somebody got a flower, they see your flower. Well, if he tend to his flower will be just as fine as your flower. But he didn't tend to his flower. You tend to your flower will be as fine as his. You don't have to borrow his flower. That's the way it goes. People don't know how they blue on every decoration day. You know how they blue. People on every decoration day. You know my baby, she died, left me. She left me on every decoration day. My baby called me to her bedside. It was the last word my baby had to say. She called me to her bedside. It was the last word my baby had to say. Say, Yank, bring me some flowers. Bring them on that decoration day. And I had the blues. Baby, every decoration day. You know I have the blues. Baby, every decoration day. Tell my baby she called me to her lonesome bed. Mister, you got the same flower I got. Now I wonder why that you want to borrow mine. You got the same flower I got. Wonder why that you want to borrow mine. If you want your flower and tend to it, your flower will be just as fine as mine. I water my flower every morning and every evening when the sun goes down. I water my flower every morning, every evening when the sun goes down. If you want your flower and tend to it, your flower will be just as fine as mine.
Pat Webb here on the Underground Record Shop on RedBud Radio. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. We're having a great time with these guys here in the studio. That was off of Pat's CD that came out a few years ago called Silver Lady and Wild Stallion. Before that, we played Decoration Day, an old tune, a pre-war tune off of the Yank Rachel CD, Acoustic Blues. Too Hot for the Devil with Yank Rachel, Pat Webb, and Alan Stratyner. A great CD that you guys did over in Al Stone's studio there. And I know that was the late 90s, like around 97 or something like that.
Yeah, that's about right.
All right. Now, you know, what year did you say you wrote the Wild Stallion song? You've had that one for a while.
That was in 51. I was at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and I'd had all Chicano fire team in Korea, and they couldn't play, but, you know, we carried rifles instead of guitars, but they'd sing, and I'd listen to that kind of music since I was just a kid, and I always loved it. And then when I got to Camp Lejeune, there were several people that could play a little bit. And I got the idea to write this tune, and did. It just turned out to work.
It's a great song. I'm happy to include it in on this particular program.
Thank you.
And you know, we kind of want to push ahead again. We went through this time that you were in Greenwich Village, and the amount of time that you spent through the 60s up to the point of meeting Yank Rochelle and so on. So you had a performing career all through this time, through the 60s and the 70s, and then through the 80s. And then also you raised a family. You had some children. Now, again, I don't know, all those particulars of that, but we know you have your son Christopher Webb here with us.
Chris started on his own. I didn't help him. I didn't encourage him. I'd rather he'd not gotten the business in a way at that time, because it's a rough thing to do. You're really taking a chance on your life. But he made that on his own. He had his own group when he was 16 or something, and I'll turn it back over to him.
Well, that's the way I recall it, and thank you for
didn't get that much from me. It's mostly him.
Right. Well, and I know at one point, there was Chris Webb, and a valuable and quality performer when I first met you. So, I understand you had your first band when you were 16. Is that
Thanks.
correct?
Yeah, indeed, I did. I had a band called Folk Singer for a number of years, from being in high school to going into college for my first few years. And it was okay. We didn't do a bunch of recording or anything, but I was always musical. I was always gifted with that. That was something. Of course, I was raised around that with my father, Pat Webb, and my mother, Charlotte Daniels Webb. So
was that in Brown County, Indiana?
It was in Bloomington, and I was raised partially around Indianapolis and some in Brown County. And we did traveling in between some of our time in high school, and about half of us went to college in Bloomington, Indiana University, and had a lot of fun with that. Couldn't keep my hands off of music as hard as I was encouraged to do other things, but just wound up doing it. And when I got a chance to play with my father and Alan, that was any time I get a chance to play like today, it's the biggest fun and the greatest honor of my life.
But again, as Pat was saying, this is, you more or less stood on your own 2 feet as a youngster.
Yeah.
And you had a couple different bands. I remember you had the band The Beaten Poets that was really...
yeah, we still do some things every once in a while. It's fun to get together with them.
And you have one CD with that band?
Two, actually.
Two?
We
Okay.
had one that we cut back in the 90s called Long Gone Season, and then we have one out quite recently called Spilling. And there's a song off of that I think I was... going to play from there.
Well, we would appreciate it. Again, you guys, performing live in the studio. Again, we can't thank you enough, and thanks to the listeners for tuning in and listening to our conversations here. But we do most definitely want to hear a live performance from you. So, you got your 1935 LG double. Is that an LG?
It's an L-double-O.
L-double-O Gibson?
It was a very common model at the time, and I guess they figured that all kinds would make it,
Well, it looks well worn, but it sounds beautiful in your hands, and we're going to ask Chris right now to play his tune off of the Christopher Webb and the Beaten Poets CD, Spilling. The name of the tune is called One Free Man, right here on the Underground Record Shop. It's Christopher Webb.
Oh, yeah. on a ship sailing for St. Martin, far away from this northern snowy hell. Just spend one more year waiting in this prison before the lights of the midnight train can land upon my cell. One free man strolling through the land of David and Moses, desert where the wind and sand pound into your skin. Another man calls out from behind a rock. He gives his final sermon and he says, nothing ever changes in this place. The big guys always win. How does it feel, man? Your coat of arms. How does it feel, man? Your shield and sword. How does it feel, man? That bleeding wound. Two-tone Cadillac swimming in his fame. Bids farewell to the bastards that put him in that prison. Say one free man in a Cadillac just beat you at your own game. But how does it feel, man? Your coat of arms. And how does it feel, man? Your shield and sword. How does it feel, man? That bleeding wound.
All right, Christopher Webb here on the Underground Record Shop on RedBud Radio. Very nice, Christopher. Very nice.
Thank you very
One
much.
free man. We're going to ask you guys to keep going right now and play one of Pat's great tunes. We'll talk to him here in a little bit about how he come up with the title of this. It's A Homeless Black Dog. It's Pat Webb, Christopher Webb, and Alan Stratyner right here on RedBud Radio.
Black dog, you ain't got no home, I see. Black dog, you ain't got no home, I see. You will live and you will die in the cold, lonesome streets just like me. Fought in the war just to keep my country free. Yeah, I fought in the war. They said it was to keep my country free. Now that I got down and out, looks like my country turns back on me. find us something to eat, but I don't know where to start. I have got to find us something to eat, but I don't know where to start. This city ain't got no soul in it, damn sure ain't got no heart. Let's hear one from Chris Webb now. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The police are riding around. We better get back out of sight. The police riding around. We better get back out of sight. Let's get back in this alley, try to make it through the night. Black dog, you ain't got no home, I see. Black dog, you ain't got no home, I see. You will live and you will die, cool, lonesome street just like me.